Unfortunately, the last video just cut out short, so I'm just going to continue off of what I said, but this study does not depict any graphs, but it gives very important numbers um, for the three groups that were evaluated in their symptoms of anxiety and depression. So for the symptoms of anxiety, it decreased quite significantly. We have 38%, 45%, and 33%. For depression, it reduced by 55%, 50%, and 34%. And for anxiety, both anxiety and depression symptoms, we have a significant decrease of 57%, 66, and 27% reduced symptoms for anxiety and depression. And for our last study, which was our animal study on mice, um, to put this study into simpler terms, the experimenters evaluated these mice using an elevated plus maze, which is just a maze to evaluate um, mice. It's like like stereotypical like laboratory lab rat maze, and that's how these mice were evaluated. And the more time spent in this elevated plus maze meant that it indicated an anti, sorry, anxiolytic effect, which is an anti-anxiety effect. So the more time spent in this maze indicated reduced anxiety. And we have a graph to actually depict that. So for short-term feeding, the mice that were fed fish oil and soybean oil, they spent more time in this maze, which means they had less anxiety. Whereas the mice that were fed just lard spent less time in this maze, and less time in that maze um, usually would mean that they had more anxiety. And that's for short-term feeding, 3 days. Then we also have long-term feeding, which is 4 weeks, and you can see the same pattern, which fish oil and soybean oil indicates there's higher amount of time spent for when they're just fed fish oil and soybean oil. Um, higher amount of time spent in the open arms of the maze, and so that means that they had less anxiety, more time spent, and versus lard again. And and that is our last study. And I'm gonna go back to this clip art picture of our plant-based diet. And while a plant-based diet, they might not be a cure for depression or anxiety, they can still be a very valuable part of a comprehensive approach to mental health. And combining a plant-based diet with professional guidance, physical activity, and stress management, it can help support emotional well-being. And that is all I have today for my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a little more about how a plant-based diet can help um, reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety. Thank you.